on yours is we are working on a lot of projects that are approved, so there is no other new project that we're anticipating extra cost coming.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Roman?
Is this basically a 3-year contract with them?
Correct.
Does it have to be a 3-year contract?
3 year gives us about $2,000 reduction over 3 years.
Seems like every time we get in these 3-year contracts, things happen down the road. I'd like to, something maybe we think about, plus you're tying in the next to whatever happens after the election, we're tying into people to contracts that they're stuck with, okay? For 2 years into the progress. So is Dell the only one that offers this?
So the devices we have, 350 of them throughout the city.
Correct.
Those are Dell Wise devices. So they are the one only can have their management software for Dell management devices. So we have to, if we want to manage those devices, we have to go with that software.
Okay. But we wouldn't have to have a 3-year contract. You could have a 1-year contract.
Correct. Yeah, we can. Yes, but we end up paying $2,000 over 3 year more.
Is there any other questions? Sure.
I have a statement I'd like to make that I know that I understand that the IT department is, it's a very fluid department to work in where things are constantly changing and you can't always anticipate everything. And, the majority of the things that I believe you come up here with are stuff that have been already approved, and they are renewals, they are annual things, or they are contracts that are up. So, I want to say that.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
No.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Croft?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Mrs. Pat?
No.
Mr. Ramick?
No?
Mrs. Wenton?
Yes.
Mr. Woolley?
Yes. Item 6.11 is a motion to receive and file TIPA approval of CoStar renewal fee for a total amount of $23,016 for fiscal year 2021-22, funded through contractual service.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Cross, supported by Councilwoman Witten. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, could we have Mr. come up? I attended the TIFA meeting that they discussed this, and I just wanted you to kind of let our audience, residents know what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Through the chair, this is our, CoStar is our real estate database that we hold our city property on, and we are capable of pulling our city property through flyers that can be created through CoStar to developers, business owners, pretty much anybody who is willing and wanting to look at property that we own here in the city. We can also market it on the website. On top of that, we're capable of using this platform as a way where we can see other available properties, buildings, leases for sale, things along those lines. If somebody's looking for a building that's already pre-existing, so if they're coming into Taylor, we have options that are not ours, but we can see who else might be available. And thirdly, it's a very good opportunity, a good option that we have to look through the contractors and the developers and everyone that is connected through CoStar. So we get all of those analytics, we're capable of looking through them, and that is what our contract here provides us with. So it's a very great asset for the city.
How far out does the CoStar, sorry, through the chair, how far out does CoStar go? It's not just the city of Taylor or downriver area,
Oh, yeah,
right?
it's nationwide.
Right.
It can reach so many people. And we probably get in through our analytics, we see people coming in from Arizona. We see people coming in from pretty much anywhere, Tennessee. So, and if you're capable of looking up the broker who is on that analytic report, you can kind of create your conversation saying like, hey, you had so many hits here on CoStar. We're kind of curious as to see why you're looking at this lot for for a good period of time and for how many times. So to reach back out and to create that conversation is really golden.
So it does show us that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it gives you an opportunity for a sales lead.
Yeah, it's a very good tool. Yeah.
And you mentioned too that it's not just property, it's buildings too. So if we have an existing building that's 1,000 square feet and someone out there in California is looking for a 1,000 square foot building, they can go on there and see that it's available here in Taylor.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. 6.12 is a motion to receive and file Tifa approval of Wade Trim to develop language and graphics for the Van Born Road Corridor Overlay District for a lump sum of $17,400. The total amount for services is $34,800 with a fee to be divided equally between Dearborn Heights and Taylor.
Motion?
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Pat, supported by Councilwoman Witten. Is there any discussion?
I don't know if Christia or somebody wants to come up here or somebody and explain this exciting news, at least to me it is.
This is, through the chair, this essentially is the go-ahead for Wade Trim to start developing language over an overlay district between Taylor and Dearborn Heights. And that overlay district would, that would be with our ordinance, a lot of things along those lines, and this does give Wade Trim the go-ahead for involvement in public meetings, getting the public involved, and discussing how we can kind of move forward with the plan.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I mean, as Tia already mentioned, the overlay step, or the overlay creation is the next steps. For those that don't know, there's a DDA overlay, and so what that means is within the DDA, there's tighter restrictions. For example, we do not allow drive-throughs in the DDA. Van Born will be looked at, but it will be looked at between two communities. We have a ordinance that does not currently allow used car lots without a Class A dealership license. Dearborn Heights does not have that same ordinance, so on the other side of Van Born, if you drive that corridor, there's an abundance of used car lots. That's because they can't come to Taylor, so they go to Dearborn Heights. I think Dearborn Heights is going to take a close look at that. Those are things that they'll look at within the overlay district to bring some consistency and to tighten it up so it creates kind of a DDA downtown type symmetrical balance within the two communities. And they'll look at opportunities to improve it. It isn't always about just making it tighter and more stringent. It's just about looking at the entire district or the 4 miles on Van Born Road and trying to make it better. But the overlay will be very similar to that of the DDA. It'll be different than our general ordinance.
Through the chair. And I know when I was here, like I said, I was at the Tifa meeting. My question was, how far down does Tifa go on Van Born Road? And the answer was from Telegraph to Pelham is Taylor's Tifa area.
That is correct.
And from Telegraph to Inkster is Dearborn Heights Tifa area, correct?
I believe that is correct. I don't know exactly on Dearborn Heights, but I think they're mirrored opposites. So on our side, it is definitely from Telegraph to Pelham or Allen. And I think theirs kicks in on Telegraph, but it goes the other way to Inkster.
So would we be able to do any kind of Tifa work on Telegraph to Inkster on Taylor's side?
No.
Okay, so,
No, but that doesn't mean we can't do work. We
Right.
just have to, it would be funded differently.
Okay.
We would have to create a plan of how we'll pay for certain things that are outside of the TIF district, and Dearborn Heights will create that same strategy, and then we'll develop a phased timeline of when we do them. I mean, some of the easier things that are not real expensive are like the overlay, it's like the improving the street lights, whether it's LED or putting new mast arms or poles in, traffic signs, just cleaning up the overall corridor. Some of the longer term, more strategic planning is when you get into, road improvements or boulevards or where you look at, potentially dividing. And I know that Wade Trim came up with a lot of preliminary conceptual plans, including even a roundabout, which we would never consider, and I don't think the county would consider it anyhow.
Remember, just the picture sends shockwaves
Yeah.
across the city. So
Trust me.
there will be no roundabouts.
We were quite surprised by that photo also, because it was
Yeah.
never really discussed other than, this is a dream that if you had, if there's no limits in terms of funding, you could do this, but it's not where we're going with it. But certainly trying to take advantage of some of the easier stuff right now with Dearborn Heights, we want to move the needle. I mean, this is 4 years in the making.
how long do you think it's gonna take for them to do the overlay, looking at this and get back?
You know, I'm somewhat reluctant to give you a timeline right now because it does involve it involves a fair amount of public participation. And right now, we're kind of limited on how we meet. So assuming that we're able to have public meetings again and do some of those steering committee type meetings, I mean, yes, you can do them via Zoom, but I don't think they're as effective. So we'd like to get the business community involved. We'd like to get the elected officials of both communities involved. So I think what they're likely going to do is as much administrative work as they can in the beginning and wait for things to start to open up to where we can begin to meet as a group.
Well, go ahead, Tom. Mayor, is there a plan of attack, like, has there been any discussion, like, are we gonna start from Inkster and head east, or are we gonna start from Allen and head west?
Well, my plan, I don't think Dearborn Heights agrees with it, but we're gonna start on the south side of Van Born Road and then work to the north side. No, honestly, Mr. Chairman, we don't really know yet. I think if we looked at the greatest need and started working from that area, I think that both communities would agree that probably starting at Van Born and Inkster would be the most important section to start on and work, you know, from west to east, but we haven't got to that point yet. But I think that's likely where we'll probably start.
Councilman Mayor.
Through the chair. Mr. Mayor, in reference, I realize I've heard some discussion on this, the roadway, that's gonna be county work, correct? Is that gonna be a county responsibility, the roadway itself?
It will likely be an FAC project, Mr. Chairman. So what that means is that the county will fund 80% of it, and both cities will fund the balance of 20%. And I think there's some requirements for us to fund the design and engineering cost as well, but it's likely going to be some type of 80-20 split.
Have we had any discussion at all yet with the county in reference to this? Probably not.
Well, I know it's on the FAC list.
Okay.
I don't know where it is on the list. I mean, I know that they've got, like, this year parts of E-Course on the FAC list, and they rely on more of the PASER rating than, you know, aesthetic interest. But I do know it's on the list. I just don't know where it is on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
Yeah, through the chair, I got a hold of Commissioner Basham, and he said it is on the list. And he's gonna let me know when he finds out tomorrow about how long down the road it is. Is TIFA, what is TIFA planning on spending that district? And are we going to go after things like sidewalks and crosswalks and clean up that type of stuff?
Through the chair, Councilman Johnson, yes. So the basic rule of thumb is anywhere there's not sidewalks and there's evidence of people walking like dirt paths, MDOT will require us to attempt to install sidewalks. So what that means is that not being able to afford it is not a reasonable option to not do it. If you don't have proper right-of-ways, then they would give you a pass and not make you do it. But sidewalks will be looked at, crosswalks will be looked at, proper crossing signals will be looked at. They'll likely look at some corridor improvements, so more of the aesthetics, the bricks, the landscaping, those kind of things, those will be looked at. And then they'll also look at opportunities where there may be a signal that's required to be added. On Eureka Road, if you remember when Menards went in, there was a signal that was added as you kind of leave Home Depot there, and we worked in a partnership with Menards, and they paid $350,000 for that signal. So if a signal's needed to be added, we might reach out to the business community to try to get them involved with helping fund that, but all of those things will be looked at.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think on our side, I think there's a stretch between maybe Daniels and Inkster where there's no sidewalk.